For nearly 20 years, Chris Wallace with WG Financial has been helping families here in the Huntsville area plan for a successful retirement. Chris strives to understand all of your financial needs to help guide you on the path to your retirement goals. Creating income in retirement, maximizing your savings, and minimizing taxes. Chris has the strategies you need to help you sustain a successful retirement. Welcome to the Rocket City Retirement Show.
Most of us probably aren't looking to live the life of luxury in retirement. Yet we don't want to just get by either, right? Ask many Americans and they might tell you that they would define retirement success as being comfortable. If that's you, you're in the right place today because Chris shares the 4 things that can help you achieve a comfortable retirement. Chris, so nice to be here with you today.
Nice to be here with you as well.
So Chris, when you meet with families, does that kind of sound similar? That they're not really, they're not looking to strike it rich late in life, but they certainly don't want to struggle in retirement.
No, I don't think any family wants to struggle in retirement. I think what they're looking to be is, like you said, comfortable. And I think that starts out with planning. And some of the things that I've heard, just thinking about my planning process and conversations with individuals and families, is they want to be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want, with whoever they want, without the fear of running out of money. That's the first thing. And then usually what I hear a lot is families want to travel. They want to travel quite a bit. That seems to be a big draw in retirement, and we encourage that. As long as you have the means to do so, we want people to go out and play, as we say it. Other families just, maybe want to stay around and just spend time with the family, kids, grandkids, things of that nature. There's all different types of goals for all different types of families. It really depends on, the individual family and what they're looking to do in retirement.
Right. So there's a recent study that shows retirees who are living that comfortable retirement do the same 4 things. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the 4 keys to a comfortable retirement. So let's talk about, what some of those things are. How important is guaranteed income, let's say?
Yeah, guaranteed income is incredibly important. And, we talk about while you're working, that is your guaranteed income. And basically, there is no retirement without it. If you can't generate income successfully in retirement, you can't retire.
You're not retired.
No,
yeah.
You're not retired. That's right. So having guaranteed streams of income is important. So we look at Social Security, we look at pensions, things like that. But it's incredibly important to develop that strategy, understand where all your income streams are coming from, identify those, and essentially develop confidence in those streams of income, because that is also going to help you become comfortable in retirement.
Okay, so that's the first thing they want is a guaranteed income. Can you give us more examples of what is guaranteed income?
Yeah, so there's only a few, in my opinion, that are guaranteed. So Social Security, and I know some viewers out there are like throwing stuff at the TV right now. Oh, the Social Security is going to go broke and it's going to run out of money. What do you mean it's guaranteed? And right now today, it's guaranteed form of income. It's guaranteed stream, it's there. Your pension, if you're lucky enough to have one, will be a guaranteed stream of income. If you have an annuity, that would also be potentially another guaranteed stream of income. So those are important. What I don't consider guaranteed are things like rental properties. We know that rental property, we know if you got to have a tenant, and if the tenant's not there, then you don't have any income coming in. And there may be a period of time, maybe a gap of time, where you're not going to have that income coming in. So I don't consider that guaranteed. I also don't consider it, while I'm on this topic of rental income, inflation adjusted, because most people don't raise the cost or raise the rent on their tenants. If you've had a tenant in your house or building or whatever for a really long time and they've paid and they pay like clockwork, you're very hesitant to raise the rent, because if you raise the rent on them, the fear that you have is they may move out and find something cheaper.
Right.
So you just want to say, hey, Mr. and Ms. Jones, you've been doing a great job. You pay on time. I'm going to keep your rent the same. That way you can kind of keep the tenant in there. So just my thoughts on rental property.
Yeah, that's like in our homeowners association, our dues, we're trying to keep them so low because we have a lot of retirees living in our townhomes. So but it's inching up there, every couple of years.
Being on a fixed income is tough.
It really
is. It requires you to really pay attention to your spend, and it causes you, in some cases, to get really creative in retirement.
So true. So there's a second common thing that comfortable retirees say that they do, and that is that they have very little debt. Yeah. So I want to talk about debt in retirement. Is it all bad?
Yeah, so this is a great question. Debt's not all bad, but I can tell you it's great to be debt-free. If you wake up every morning knowing that you don't owe anybody anything, that's a great feeling. But just because you're not debt-free doesn't mean that you can't have a successful retirement. We have many families that we serve who still have, mortgage payments, right? So they still paying on their mortgage, and their retirement's fine. The ability to cover the mortgage and your other expenses is really what matters. So some families may have enough income to be able to do that. If you realize you may not, then it may be best for you to try to expedite and pay off your house before you retire to eliminate that payment and to just make you feel comfortable. And let me just remind you that if you have a house payment, let's just say it's $1,500 a month, just know that when you pay the house off, you're not going to save $1,500 a month because you still have property taxes and insurance.
True.
So let's just assume that that's $400 of that $1,500 payment. That's an $1,100 a month savings because you're still going to have to pay the property taxes and insurance, which is likely escrowed into your payment as of today.
Sure. Okay. So let's talk about how do you encourage your clients to view debt in retirement?
Well, I think some forms of debt are not as good. Let's put it that way, like credit card debt.
Right.
I mean, with interest rates on the rise, we see credit card debt or credit card interest rates pretty high. So that revolving credit is dangerous because you pay a little bit on it and you almost never get it paid off. So we encourage families to stay out of that kind of debt for sure. But again, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, if you have a mortgage payment and you're still paying on that in retirement or near retirement, it's not the end of the day as long as you can cover that in retirement. Like I said, the other types of debt you definitely want to try to stay away from. And if you're a young listener or a young viewer watching the show today, you definitely want to stay out of credit card debt. That stuff can snowball on you in a heartbeat, and it's just a vicious cycle to get out of.
Right. When my husband and I, Bobby, were first married, I was like, I'll pay the bills. And, I was paying the minimum on the credit card. Yeah. And he's like, no, you have to pay a chunk of it. Cause I want to keep as much as I could in our checking account.
For sure.
Yeah. So that wasn't working well. But.
Yeah. That minimum payment, like you just said, you'll almost never pay the debt off.
No.
You have to make much larger than the minimum to get it paid off.
Right.
And it's a real, like I said, a vicious cycle. I've shared on the radio show before my personal story and how I could use a credit card like no other when I was younger. I mean, I could max out a credit card and stretch debt. It's just a terrible cycle to be
right.
involved in. And I think through the years, there is something to be said for the gray hair.
Yeah.
There is some wisdom there,
some
right?
Wisdom.
Yeah. So you learn things as you go, and you realize that credit cards aren't. They're not helpful. They're more hurtful than they are helpful.
Right.
What credit cards do for you in a society like we live in today, we live in such an impatient and I got to have it now society.
Yes.
That's just how we view things. We want to keep up with our neighbor. We see on social media where, somebody got a new car and they're posting new cars, or they got a new outfit and they posted a picture of a new outfit. Next thing you know, you're watching that and it's literally like an ad for that particular company. Let's say they buy a specific brand of car. All of a sudden that car, manufacturer now has you as their free advertisement because your friend has posted it. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I want to go buy one of those new cars. I need a new car. And you'll do it at whatever cost because you want to keep up. It's a very, very weird society that we live in today.
It really is. Mm-hmm. So true. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for all that. Do you want a comfortable retirement? We're sharing the 4 things a new study says is key to helping you achieve retirement satisfaction. We'll share the next 2 when we come back. This is the Rocket City Retirement Show.
Just when you may want to forget your age, Uncle Sam says not so fast. Knowing your age is more important than ever when it comes to taking your required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Legislation just changed the age requirement, and not accounting for that could impact your retirement plan. It could be key to not overpaying on taxes in retirement. So remember, when it comes to RMDs, age is more than just a number. Before your next birthday, call today to secure a strategy for the RMD age change and your retirement. There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy to understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement.
You're watching the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Ask many people, and they have some pretty big goals for retirement. Struggling financially is typically not one of them. So what does it take to retire comfortably? We're talking about the results of a new study about people who have retired comfortably. They do the same 4 things. First, they have guaranteed income. Next, they have little to no debt. The third thing they have is a spend down strategy. So what is a spend down strategy, Chris?
It sounds weird to say that to retirees because if you
Yeah.
think about it, for 30 and 40 years, you've been saving and
Yeah.
pushing money into that retirement plan.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, to make that transition from working and getting paid, putting it into your retirement plan, now I've got to kind of do that in reverse. I've got to start taking the money out. And that's a weird feeling for a lot of people. That's part of that psychological transition of retirement, learning how to take out of your retirement nest egg, which, by the way, is why you've saved it, so that you can spend it. But a lot of retirees think that they just want to protect it and keep it there, and that's part of that whole fear of running out of money, a psychological impact that it has on you as you transition into retirement. So developing a spend down strategy for your income needs that you're going to have in retirement, I think is really, really important. It's important because it needs to give you the level of confidence to be able to do that, and so that you don't worry. So having that strategy to cover that shortfall from your guaranteed income to your expenses, whatever that shortfall is, designing that spend down strategy will just help alleviate some of that anxiety that is going to be present. I mean, people watching the show today, I've probably got a lot of pre-retirees and I've got a lot of retirees who are watching it, and they can probably both tell you that they're nervous about giving up the stream of income that their job is providing. And those that have are nervous about taking out of their nest egg. They don't want to spend it all down to where they run out of money. So there's 2 different sides to this, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of psychological, issues you got to deal with in retirement.
I wonder why. I guess it's just that they're worried that they're going to run out of money. I mean, have you had situations in your office where you've seen this, where people are just like, I'm just really struggling to take my money out of my nest egg?
There they are. I've had people want to take money out of an IRA, pay the taxes to put it in their savings account because it feels like normal to them. And this is the way I explain it to them. You're going to take it out of the IRA, you're going to pay the taxes on it to put it in your savings account where you're going to make interest, and then you're going to get taxed on the interest just so you can feel good. Remember that your nest egg is your savings, and you want to take it out in a tax efficient manner. I mean,
oh my gosh.
the psychological side of retirement, I'm telling you, there's a whole psychological side, and you think you're doing the right thing because you're acting out of emotion rather than working off of the data that's really should be derived from your plan.
That is so interesting because the money's there.
Right.
They're just afraid to take it out, and that they want to put it in the checking account. That's so funny.
Right. So they're
Yeah.
taking money out as a spend down strategy. Let's just,
Right.
I'll make an example. They have
Yeah.
$4,000, they need to pull $4,000 a month to cover the shortfall. Some people will want to pull $5,000 because I got to put a little bit in savings. And I'm like, that is your savings. You still have
Oh
it
my
in the
gosh.
IRA.
Yeah.
But that's the habit that they've done for 30 or 40 years.
Sure.
They put X number of dollars in savings, so they want to do that in retirement. But I'm thinking, you've already done that because it's over in this bucket, and we need to leave it there unless we're Roth converting it. We don't want to pull it out just to put it in our checking account.
Right. That's so interesting to me. Man, we're just such creatures of habit.
Very much.
Such creatures of habit.
Very much so.
Yeah. And then finally, the 4th common trait that retirees have who say that they want to live comfortably in retirement is the fact that they seek financial guidance. So why can finding the right guidance be vital in your retirement plan?
Well, just take for the example I just gave you that, I mean, clearly if you were listening closely on the show and the viewers kind of caught that, we repeated it a couple times, but if you understood that, it's like there's no mathematical reason you would do it that way.
Yeah.
Because you're going to pay additional taxes, and there's no reason. But that's where seeking financial guidance can help. You can sit down with someone like myself and say, hey, have you thought about it this way? It's not that you're wrong, and I never want to tell somebody, hey, you're wrong. It's, did you think about it this way? Why don't we look at it this way? Let me show you these other options over here that might be more efficient for your retirement plan. I think it's important to develop that relationship, because the individual, if they're the right individual, credentialed properly, have the experience, they can walk alongside you and make sure that your family doesn't step in some of the pitfalls that other families out there without financial guidance have probably stepped in. There are probably viewers out there right now who have taken withdrawals out of a retirement plans, and they've increased their Medicare premiums because they hit the IRMA limits. But they didn't know that. They didn't know it until it already happened, and now you got 2 years of increased IRMA premiums. So having that professional working with you, literally, like I said, walking alongside of you, really helps the family avoid those potholes in the road, so to speak.
Exactly. So, this is why we are here, because we want to help you find a financial advisor for retirement, someone to help you plan your retirement. There are different financial advisors out there, but you are a retirement planner. You focus on the right retirement process, however he spells right differently, and walk us through what that is.
Yeah, so we have a process called the Right Retirement Process, RITE. That's retirement income, investments, taxes, and estate and legacy planning. It's important, we feel, to address those 4 pillars. Those families that do that can potentially have a more successful outcome just by making sure certain areas of the retirement plan are addressed. And that retirement income is really important. But hey, you still got to have your investments. You still got to have that growth in retirement. You can't just put everything under a rock and forget about it and try to keep it, protected or whatever. It still needs to grow. And then how you pull it out of the retirement plan from a tax perspective is incredibly important. And then, as we mentioned, like the estate and the legacy plan, that's really, really important. So working with someone who has a focus in that area of retirement. I'm a certified financial planner professional. It's a highly credentialed designation that I carry. I've had to pass some rigorous tests to be able to carry that designation. But I did that so that when I sit down with families, I can have more confidence that I'm making the right decision for this family. They can also, in turn, hopefully have confidence in me and have the ability to trust that I'm going to walk beside them through retirement and help a husband and wife, or just a husband or a wife. We work with a lot of widows and single individuals too, but really trust that we're going to be able to help them and guide them through their retirement plan so that they're not, hopefully stepping in areas where they shouldn't step in.
Chris, how would you recommend somebody get a second opinion?
So a second opinion, I recommend it anytime, basically anytime you want a second opinion, you should get a second opinion.
Okay.
I look at it like this. If you were going to have major surgery, let's say open heart surgery, if I were going to have it, I would want to probably interview 2 or 3 doctors. The reason for that is you're about to operate on my heart. I don't live without my heart. If it's not pumping blood through the rest of my body, I don't live. So I've got to have complete confidence that that doctor, whoever's going to operate on me, is going to do the best job so that I can continue my life. Well, with your retirement plan, that's a big deal. That is the money. That is the heartbeat of your retirement. Right. So the person you work with, you want to interview several people. If it ends up being us, again, fantastic. If it's not, we just encourage individuals and families out there to seek proper financial, tax, and also estate guidance throughout retirement.
Right. We're all looking for that comfortable retirement like we've been talking about today. And Chris, you can certainly help people find that. Thank you so much for your answers today. Now up next, your retirement questions. We're going to answer those in a Q&A section, so stay tuned. The Rocket City Retirement Show continues right after this.
There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy to understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement.
You have a club for every scenario. A driver for the long holes. Wedges to get you over the hazards. And a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
You're watching the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Hi, thanks for joining us. This is the Rocket City Retirement Show. And guess what? We are ready for questions from you, our viewers, about retirement. You ready? Are you ready for this?
Are you?
I'm ready.
Let's
are you? Okay. So our first question is from Rosalind in Ardmore. She says, I just found out that I will be receiving about $100,000 from a life insurance policy after my grandpa passed away. I'm stunned by the amount because I really didn't expect it. So I have two questions. What should I do with this money? And I really want to be able to do something like this for my own grandkids one day. So how can I make that happen?
Yeah, so what's kind of funny here is that there's a common theme between people that either have an experience with long-term care or life insurance. So in this case, Grandpa has left Rosalind some money. So now she wants to basically pay it forward to other family members, essentially. So I see this as a very common theme with people that receive life insurance and or they've dealt with a spouse or grandparent or somebody that's had long-term care. So question number one is, what do I do with the money? Well, the answer is I'm not completely sure because I don't know exactly what Rosalind's entire situation is. What I would say is are there student loans that need to be paid off? Is there credit card? Is there any type of debt that we need to take that money and try to address first to help Rosalind accelerate her timeline towards retirement if she's not already there? So that would be question number one, or answer number one to question number one. I'm not completely sure without knowing a little bit more detail about her situation. And then sure, at that point, I can kind of say, okay, we need to do this with the money. Now, if Rosalind wants to do something like that for her kids, then all Rosalind has to do is either A, save money appropriately in the right accounts, or she could also look at a life insurance policy on herself so that when she passes away, there is a legacy left to whomever she wants to. It can be to mom, dad, kids, grandkids, anything. So we do have families that want to do that. They want to leave that legacy. Not everybody wants to buy life insurance because there is somewhat of a stigma with life insurance. But there are some families that are willing to invest in a type of policy to make sure that there is a tax-free death benefit for their heirs.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If she has the extra money and can put it into a policy, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and especially if you're real risk averse, right? So we know that long-term the market over a long period of time is going to yield returns. But if you don't have the stomach to deal with that, then yes, sometimes looking at a life insurance policy as a legacy play, it could fit into some people's plans. It just depends on the family.
Our next question is from Patrick in Huntsville. He says, I can't keep up with what's going on with required minimum distributions. When do we have to take those?
Yeah, neither can I, Patrick. Welcome to the world. Now,
Yeah, it's changed like in the last several years, like 3 times.
Yeah, so you had Secure Act 1.0 that bumped the required minimum distribution age to 72. And then you had Secure Act 2.0, which bumped the required minimum distribution age to 73 or 75 if you were born in 1960 or later. So depending on the year you were born will determine when you have to start taking your first RMD. So I think for families out there today that are concerned with that, they should take a look at, looking at their retirement plan and understanding how much pre-tax money do I have today, and then doing some forward-looking calculations to try to estimate what they're going to have to pull on their required minimum distribution age. And at that point, they may look at doing maybe some Roth conversions. They may look at spending some pre-tax money first. And there's a multitude of strategies we can use there. But that's the ages. Right now, today, it's 73 or 75 if you were born in 1960 or later.
Now, you kind of think of it as, oh, that's kind of nice. We don't have to take those required minimum distributions until we're maybe 75.
Yes.
But it's not all good, is it?
Well, it's not, because the pre-tax amount continues to grow. But
Yeah.
I often wonder if the government did that to just basically give you more time to Roth convert, right?
Well, that's nice if they did that
because
for that reason.
Well, make no mistake about it, they need money today to operate the government. So Roth converting creates a taxable event on the person doing the conversion, which really gives the government their money or their tax money to be able to do the things that they need to do with it inefficiently or efficiently, however you want to look at it. But in reality, I often wonder that. That's just theory according to Chris. Did they push it out a little bit to encourage more people to Roth convert? So I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah.
I can't answer that on the show for sure, because
I
I
know.
don't really know.
We don't know what they were really thinking. But all right, here's another question from Marcy in Harvest. And she says, I've heard you mention longevity several times on the show. I just don't think it's something that applies to me, given my family history. She says, if it's not a huge concern, is there a way to set up my money so I can do some fun things while I'm willing and able to do it, but then have a backup plan just in case I do live longer than I expect?
Oh, it's a great question. And I think, first of all, I think longevity, when we're comparing it to our family, is probably not as accurate as we think it is. We think our mom and dad passed early, so am I. I was born from them. I got the same genes.
Right.
Hey, I'm out of here early.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of research out there that shows a healthy diet, exercise, healthy weight, not smoking, and moderate to low alcohol consumption will improve longevity significantly. Plus, I would also argue that she probably goes to the doctor more than her parents did. I know as a man, I can be pretty hard-headed. I know some men are very hard-headed. They don't get their physicals. The medical technology is there to alert us when there are things going on inside our bodies. If you have high cholesterol, we know that can lead to some bad things down the road. So it's best to diet and exercise to get it down. If that doesn't work, we go on medication. So I wouldn't necessarily say or bet against yourself that you're going to pass away early. But the point is valid. Is there a way to set up my money so that I can spend more money early in my retirement, but yet protect myself on the backside just in case I live a little bit longer than I think I'm going to live? And the answer is yes. It's all in how the retirement plan is structured. And that's, of course, what we handle at the office.
Right, very good. And we don't know. None of us has a crystal ball, and I'm glad we don't. I don't know I don't want to know when my last day is, but
neither do I.
You got to plan for a long life just in case. Our last question is from Trent in Athens. He says, is my Social Security benefit going to be taxed? I'm having trouble figuring out what to expect with that.
Great question. The answer is, I don't know. I don't know what your specific situation is, but I'll give you some examples.
Yeah.
So going back to the very basics, those who follow my content know if you just have Social Security and that's it, you're in a 0 federal, 0 state bracket in Alabama. So if that's you and you're able to cover all of your expenses and living expenses with just Social Security, then congratulations, you're 0 federal, 0 state. But if you have a pension or you take an IRA distribution or you have the sale of a home where you have to pay some capital gains taxes or you sell stock and you have to pay capital gains taxes, once you add all that on your tax return, all of those pieces of income will then determine how much of your Social Security is actually going to be taxed. So it's a really it depends answer. Like he didn't give enough information for me to really tell him. But you know what I could tell him? If he came in the office, I could tell him exactly how it's going to impact him and how much of it's going to be taxed, because we look at that on a day-to-day basis.
Right, very good. You could get a more specific answer to your question if you go in and see Chris personally. Thank you so much for everything again, and all your answers. Good answers.
Always.
We thank you so much for that. If you have a question, submit it, and we might just answer it on a future show. And if you want to know more about generating lifetime income, potentially reducing your tax bill, and maintaining the lifestyle you live right now in retirement, reach out now to start planning for your ideal retirement. For Chris and the team at WG Financial Group, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer, wishing you a healthy and a happy journey to and through retirement.
This program was sponsored by WG Financial Group, where your retirement matters.